Good morning and welcome to 10 Minutes to Get More, where I share a tip, tool, or technique to help you get the most of your career or of your commercial teams in the travel industry. Happy Monday. It's spring. The clocks have gone forward. We've passed the spring equinox. It's Easter at the end of this week. The new tax year is coming, which for many of you means a new financial year. And I've got new hair. So it's all about new beginnings and fresh starts at the moment for me. And it's often easier to do it now than in January when you're just kind of on the Christmas come down and you haven't got any money and you're a bit sad and it's really dark and miserable. So at this time of year, I often find myself thinking about how I want my life to be different. And I know it's the same for lots of my clients as well. And perhaps you might be thinking, it's been another start to the year where you thought it would be different this year. Maybe you were going to do something differently, or maybe your company was going to do something differently. But perhaps it might not be quite living up to expectations. Maybe your friends are a bit bored of listening to you moan about your boss. But the thing is, when we want to look for a new job, whether that's a job outside our company or a promotion or change within our company, we only want to do that every couple of years, or perhaps even less often, depending on how happy we are. So that means we are the experts in getting promotions, doing applications for jobs, doing interviews, and the etiquette and the ways of doing all of this really successfully. Especially now with technology changing so fast in the world of HR. So to fast track your success, I've spoken to some recruiters in the world of travel tech and hotels to understand what makes some special people really easy to hire. Feel free to drop in a comment, let me know where you're dialing in from, and let me know if you have any questions, which I'll be happy to answer for you as well. So when I spoke to these recruiters about what makes some people really easy to place and hire, the first thing they both said was knowing exactly what you want. So in my language, in my world, this is about being the pilot of your career, not the passenger. One of them specifically mentioned that question that I know a lot of people dread: where do you see yourself in 5 years? And people don't want to answer it because 5 years is a long time away. Who knows? Anything could change, etc. But it does actually matter because different companies are looking for different things in different roles. They might want somebody who's a real firecracker and wants to change lots of stuff, or they might want someone that's quite steady. So it's actually, it's a two-way street, an interview, isn't it? So it's great for you to know what you want to do in the future, and that the next steps you're planning out are aligned to where you want that future to go, because it helps people to understand how you're going to fit into their organization. The second recruiter said a really similar thing, and that it helps to have a clear, proactive career plan, particularly because it's more of a pull towards a specific goal than a push coming out of an unhappy job. What he said was, it's easy to work with people that have a desire to move on for positive reasons rather than just being really unhappy in a current job. Because if you're unhappy in your current job and really miserable, you just want to get out. It's like anything's better than where I am. But that doesn't mean that you'll stay in the next place and be fulfilled there if you haven't thought about where you want to get to. Another thing that was mentioned is being really, really clear and honest about your strengths, but also your weaknesses, because that transparency helps recruiters and hiring managers build trust and helps you get placed in the right kind of job. So it's all about being very comfortable explaining the context of your career, being very open about any mistakes you've made and how you learn from it. If you're feeling a bit like, I can't talk about mistakes, more on that at the end. So being really clear about where you think you're going to excel in a role, and being really clear about where you might find something challenging or something not enjoyable. You've helped the hiring people because you've done the work of the recruiter and the hiring manager and the line manager that you're going to have, because you're presenting everything really clearly. And it creates great doorknobs for your conversations. And if you don't know what that means, Google conversations and doorknobs. One recruiter pointed out, which I love, is to do 5 to 10% more than the average person to build a strong reputation, because our travel tech community and hotel community is quite small, and word does travel. People will get to know you. So that could look like personalizing your profile on a CV, tailoring the CV to every job. This is not new advice. One interesting thing is to make a virtual background of the company you're applying for and have it on your background if you're doing a virtual interview. Reaching out to more people, networking in person and on LinkedIn, emailing people you've met in real life to keep the conversation going, and even sending LinkedIn voice notes to people at the company or the hiring manager to create a sense of personalization. And this is important because if you don't do these extra 5 to 10%, you're going to just be getting the average. And if you want to be better or get better than average in life, you've got to kind of do better than life. One of the recruiters called it jellyfishing. If you're just going wherever the current takes you, allowing things to happen to you, it makes it hard for them to place, but it also isn't going to build you the most satisfaction in your life and career. Another key point that was mentioned was being authentic and having really good soft skills, which I like to call power skills. So communication and EQ. So personalizing your approach, leaping off the page so that your LinkedIn profile or your CV really shows who you are, and moving beyond specific scripts to build really good human connections. So bringing your whole self to the interview, being lifelike. I don't mean sharing your life story, but being yourself in the interview is going to make you more memorable, and it's going to be more authentic, genuine conversation. People know subconsciously when you're not being authentic. And the last one that I spoke about with both recruiters was imposter syndrome or self-doubt, and how that impacts at different stages of the job application. Mindset is everything, right? There's so many quotes about this. Like Michael Jordan says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And there's that whole, if you believe you can or you can't, you're probably right. So one of the recruiters said he's had people say out loud to him, I don't think I should apply for this job because I don't think I'm good enough. And that mindset is often because we don't have all the context of the job. We don't know what kind of person they're looking for. We don't know how senior or junior the role really is just from the job description. But also that's the mindset that's going to maybe prevent you from applying for jobs that you do deserve. The other recruiter mentioned something interesting, which is that sometimes we don't even recognize that it is imposter syndrome that's holding us back. We just have this track going in our minds, this like ongoing talk track happening in our minds, and we don't realize that's imposter syndrome or self-doubt talking us out of applying for jobs or out of asking for a promotion or a pay rise or similar. Now, this question of imposter syndrome, I left it for the end because I think it's actually a thread that runs through the whole process of applying for a new job or asking for a promotion. Because imposter syndrome is not just self-doubt. It's not like, oh, am I going to be able to use the new system? Oh, I'm a bit rusty on Excel. It's actually a bit of an identity crisis in our mind, and we can't square the circle of that identity crisis. And that will run all the way through your job application. So because of that, if you're in a situation where you're desperately unhappy in your job and you really want to get out, that push feeling that I was talking about earlier, your nervous system is probably totally frazzled. You're feeling stressed, you're feeling tired, but you probably can't sleep very well. When you meet certain people in that role in your job, you might freeze up or get really upset too quickly, or just kind of withdraw. That's all signs of your nervous system being really quite frazzled. And it's really hard to do anything creative or big picture thinking when your nervous system's like that. So you might think easier said than done, but things like exercise, sleep, diet, moving is really good for your nervous system. Things like singing, also really good. So anything you can do like that before you start getting into the frame of mind for your job hunt is going to help you approach it from a much better point of view. Imposter syndrome also affects your mindset of what you believe you can achieve and what you deserve. So often we don't think big picture if we are not in the right mindset. So how many times have you thought, oh, I'd love to do that job, but it's just not for me? Or I don't deserve a title or a salary like that. This is all a lot of imposter syndrome chat. Imposter syndrome also stops us taking action on our plans. So procrastination can be a massive symptom of imposter syndrome. Have you ever had that when you absolutely decide you really are going to do something, but it doesn't happen? And often that's because we don't see ourselves as someone who does that thing. For example, going to the gym at 6 a.m. every day. But if I don't believe I'm a gym bunny that goes to the gym at 6 a.m. every day, I might manage it for a few days, but it's going to be really hard work and it won't continue. Same for the job hunt. When you believe that you're deserving of the plan you've made, you'll be able to act on it much better. Then that last part about being your whole human self in the interview and going the extra mile, you might think to yourself, if you've got imposter syndrome, who am I to message the CEO of that company and ask him for a chat? Who am I to reach out for a reference from my friend that used to work there? They'll just think I'm being annoying. Massive imposter syndrome vibes. Or feeling like you have to be someone else in the interview. I need to act like my ex-boss, or I need to act like that really professional person over there in the interview, because that's how people get to be successful. And also that idea of sharing mistakes. It can feel like any kind of sharing of mistakes is showing a chink in the armor, and that as soon as you show that chink in the armor, someone's going to get you and realize that you're an imposter. So dealing with that, I think, really is the crux of the matter in being more successful in your job hunts. I can see I've got a question from Shannon. So I've been through redundancy 2 times applying for jobs, but one of the feedback I got was we're looking for long-term commitment. I already mentioned during the interview that I was made redundant, one of them during COVID. Should I mention on my CV that I was made redundant? This is an interesting question. I'm just going to pop this down so you can still see me. I don't think I would add it on my CV that I've been made redundant. I would be open about sharing that if somebody asked the question of why I left. And I think especially during COVID and especially in the travel industry, people need to understand that that's happening. It's happening in many industries more and more now. We aren't going to be in the same careers forever. That's just the way the job market is. So I think being made redundant, it should not be an issue. If the company makes it an issue, that's maybe a bit of a red flag for you. I wonder if there's something about how you're talking that makes them not quite feel the long-term commitment. And this might sound a bit woo-woo, but often we can hold ourselves back a bit from saying, I would love to be in this job role. I can see myself doing this in 2 years. I can see myself doing that in 5 years. And that kind of language can help someone place us as being someone long-term. We have to help people understand where we might fit in. So you could say, for example, if I got the job, here's what I would do in my first year. In 2 or 3 years, I'd love to move into this kind of role. Here's how I want to contribute to the company. And that does take a bit of boldness, I know. But that is how people can envision you in their story, essentially. I hope that's helpful, Shannon. Happy to have a chat separately if you'd like to. So I know all this might sound like quite a lot to think about. If you'd like some structured support to bring, to think big picture, build out your own plan for your career, deal with that imposter syndrome that's running through all of this, and get better at communicating with others about your plan, so help them help you, including how you go the extra mile and do that extra 5 or 10%, then my career coaching program Manifest could be for you. You can book in a chat at this QR code here, and I can walk you through it, see if you feel that we're a good fit for each other, and explain what we do. It's in 1 weekend now, so it's an intensive 1 weekend program, which I love because we just get it all done in a weekend, and then you have my support ad hoc for the next 6 weeks. So have a wonderful week. Enjoy Easter and spring and the longer days, at least here in the UK and Northern Europe, and see you next week.